This incident, which occurred in 1949, was the basis for the novel by William Peter Blatty and the classic film The Exorcist. It all started when Roland's aunt, real name Robbie Mannheim, suggested that he play with a Ouija board, which was fashionable at the time. After 11 days, she died under unclear and very strange circumstances. Being in despair, the boy decided to contact her using the same Ouija board. That same evening, he began to hear strange sounds, and the icon of Jesus, which was hanging on the wall, began to vibrate. Since the boy's family were members of the Lutheran Church, they invited a local priest to look at all this, who agreed to stay with him for the night. That night, the priest witnessed terrible things. According to notes published in local newspapers, his bed shook all night. Photographs fell from the walls, chairs and all other furniture jumped. Incomprehensible symbols appeared on the boy's arms, legs and chest, and he constantly screamed. The next morning, he was taken to a psychiatric hospital, where after 30 sessions of exorcism, the boy allegedly came to his senses. 14 witnesses testified in writing that they saw the boy's bed floating in the air. Gigigigigig. This heartbreaking story happened in 2007 to a 22-year-old New Zealand girl. After the death of her grandmother, with whom she was very close, the devil took over her mind. She constantly screamed, had hysterics, and spoke in a very strange voice. When they approached the Tohunga, a local priest in Maori culture, he could not help them, only advising them to return a small lion statue that had been stolen by Janet's brother from a local hotel. However, this didn't help at all. And then, despite all the excuses of the Tohunga, her family decided to conduct a Makutu exorcism session, an ancient New Zealand rite of expelling evil spirits and lifting the curse. He envisioned pouring a large amount of water into the girl's mouth. About 40 members of the Moses family took part in the ceremony, who used so much water that they were able to flood the entire house. As a result, the girl choked. When the police visited the house, they had already discovered Janet's lifeless body. 9 people from her family were convicted of this murder. The film Belief, The Possession of Janet Moses, was based on this story. "16-year-old orphan Clara was a parishioner of a local church in the city of Mzinto, South Africa. At one of the confessions held in 1906, she told Holy Father Erasmus Horner that she felt the devil in herself and that she was possessed. The priest did not believe her, but soon her condition began to deteriorate. She began to tear off her clothes, talk to herself, and show aggression. Furthermore, there is documented evidence of many people who heard her speak in various languages previously unknown to her. Moreover, she gained extraordinary strength, with which she scattered the nuns across the walls, and also began to levitate for no reason, which many people saw. True, when she was sprinkled with holy water, her strength disappeared. After a continuous 2-day exorcism session, which was carried out by 2 local priests, the girl was allegedly cured, but her further fate is unknown. This is one of those cases that could not be explained even by psychiatrists. The story of Ronald Hankler, also known by the name Roland Doe, is already a textbook example for world exorcism. Moments of his life formed the basis of the famous film, The Exorcist, filmed in 1973. The terrible events of 1949 involving Hankler Doe took place in Prince George's County, Maryland, US, and more specifically, in the house with serial number 3807, located on 40th Avenue. Ronald began to notice demonic manifestations after the death of his beloved Aunt Tilly, who was practically a full member of the family. It started with all the icons in the house, including images of Christ and the Virgin Mary, unexpectedly falling onto the floor. The building began to periodically hear dull thuds coming from deep within the walls. Then strange and completely inexplicable things began to happen directly in the boy's room. The priests carried out the exorcism ritual over several days. The devil was cast out from February 28 to March 3. Moreover, scratches periodically appeared on the boy's body, which eventually formed 2 words, Christ and hell. In addition, witnesses to the ceremony said that as the demons were expelled, the objects located there moved around the room by themselves. One ceremony, however, was not enough. On March 16, the exorcism procedure was continued, this time with the participation of Father Bowdern. The entire Henkier family was baptized by a priest of the Catholic Church. Complete deliverance from the captivity of Satan occurred a month later. On April 18, Ronald had a sudden seizure. He flew to the ground, and when he got up, he announced to his household, "That's it. The devil is gone." "16-year-old Elizabeth was a priest's servant in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. She discovered the first signs of obsession in herself in 1655. Demons intensely seduced her, promising her a rich and easy life. Gradually, the girl began to develop a negative attitude towards Christianity, and with it, signs of a demonic presence, seizures, complaints that someone is choking her, desire to throw yourself into the fire. The apotheosis was the convulsions that appeared in the maid and regular attempts to insult the clergy. During the exorcism procedure, Elizabeth cursed and shocked those gathered with previously unheard of blasphemies. Her body wriggled like a snake, and her face was periodically disfigured by terrible grimaces. It all ended completely unexpectedly. The curses that sounded from Knapp's lips were cut off mid-sentence. The girl froze with her mouth wide open and her tongue hanging out. The room was immediately filled with the joyful cries of the exorcists. The demons were driven away. The dark forces no longer bothered the maid. However, the psychological trauma from what she suffered turned out to be so deep that Elizabeth was never able to forget what happened to her. It can be assumed that chilling stories of exorcism will continue to appear in the future. The development of technology, of course, will reduce the number of such ceremonies to a minimum, but it is unlikely to exclude them completely. After all, eras pass, rulers change, countries disappear, but mysterious incidents with people flying through the air and holy paintings falling from walls are unlikely to be forgotten.